And here we go. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Recruiting Ain't Easy podcast. Those of you who don't know who I am, my name is TEAM, and I help thousands of people just like you across this great country in navigating the joining process to make the best decision for themselves, get better prepared for Army basic training, recruiting, and so much more. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, my full-time job is a recruiter for the New York Army National Guard in Manhattan, but on my free time, I come on here to share with you the gospel of the Army and to help you make the best decisions for your reasons and your reasons alone, as previously described. This is a personal page. It is not supported or endorsed or sponsored by the DoD, the United States Army, the Army National Guard, the state, or any other government entity for that matter. These are my own opinions, experiences, and so on and so forth. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm just some guy online sharing the gospel. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. And with that being said, if you're new here, let me know what state that you're tuning in from and what component of the Army or branch of service that you're looking to join. And welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. With that being said, hopefully everything is looking good today. All right, so we already got a few comments in here, so make sure you get them in here nice and early. All right, hopefully sound check. Hopefully the mic is working well tonight. Is it nice and loud and nice and crispy so you can hear me? All right, so moving right along to Super Friday with the testing 1, 2, 3. Yes, just did that. Thank you. We got Bat Boss Jose saying, yo, what's up? YF23 says, hoping to be a 35 Lima after my church mission. What is the top secret screening process like? Extremely thorough. They're going to want to know where you've lived for the past 10 years. Basically, your SF-86. So the same application that you fill out for everyone else, they're going to go through that, but with a finer tooth comb, if that makes sense. But they're going to want to know everything. Yasir says, hashtag Team Swartz. Appreciate that. Passed the ASVAB yesterday with a 30 freaking 4. That's what I'm talking about. Good luck, he says. And that's awesome. Hopefully you do just as well on the medical exam. Thank you for the update. That's awesome. I love great news. If you got a W this week, let me know as well. I would love to hear your successes. All right. We got Luis Rodriguez. Welcome back. Thank you again for that hashtag Team Swartz. Hope all is well. Dropping in the show to support, showing a few people your channel who want to enlist along with me. Just waiting for the police academy info to finish the hiring process. My weight is, and I don't see any follow-up comments. So hopefully your weight is doing well. I know that was an issue for you not too long ago. We got YF23 saying, my high school was a small start. I'm sorry. The high school started a junior ROTC program. So I started a military club that ended up being pretty successful. It went really well. And we ended up having 7 people join in the first month. That's awesome. And I hope that it grows. He also says that my teacher, Sergeant First Class Ray, helps run it, and I am a cadet senior officer. I'm happy with it and how it went. 23 members, 3 officers, 2 NCOs. All right, good stuff. To be an officer, you had to be taking honors AP classes. We ended up getting to see a National Guard Humvee, and I think that's a Chinook. All right, good stuff. Sounds like you're having a lot of fun, and that's what's up. All right, cool. So Jose Lopez Jr. says the station commander said that he wasn't to make sure that we put together. I think he meant wanted to make sure that we put together the best possible package to send up to the analyst for review because it's all about credibility with them. Please be patient. Yes, absolutely. And I'm patient. It's not my waiver. So I'll be patient all day, every day. We got Bat Boss Jose says thumbs up. Mary J says hi. She's a proud Army mom. Thank you so much, Mom, for tuning in. Thank you. We got Bree Elliott with the I'm from Kansas. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, Bree. Hopefully I earn your subscription tonight. Yasir says, Tennessee Army National Guard, rise up. Hell yeah. Lima Charlie, loud and clear. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we got Anthony Ramirez here. Says, question. See, somebody's paying attention to the instructions. Attention to detail and basic training. So, attention to details. All right, so Anthony says or asks, is the ASVAB really hard, or is it just preparing like anything else in life? I have been in school since 2011, 32 years old. I want to be 11 Bravo infantryman by heart. All right, good question. So the ASVAB is going to be contingent on your ability to have retained basic 10th grade level math and English. It's not too complicated, but if you are someone like myself who you memorize or learn the material for the test, and then like once you pass the test, it's like you just dump it and forget it, which is one of the reasons why I don't do math in public. But with that being said, it could be as easy as hard as it is as you are in school. So if you had good grades, then chances are you're probably gonna do just as well on the ASVAB. If you struggled in school and you haven't really been focusing on basic math and English, then this test may be challenging for you. But I'll tell you what, I got a practice test here for you coming into the chat box. I think it's linked down below in the description. You can check that out too at a later time if you'd like. We got Mary J, again, proud mom. We got watching from San Marcos, Texas, coming in from Anthony Ramirez. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got Michigan Wolverine, says hello, new to the channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully I earn a sub today. Question, my son just graduated from AIT, Goodfellow Air Force Base, 35 November. Army, he's currently in airborne school. His duty station will be in Fort Bragg. Will he be in 82nd? It's quite possibility, but they'll let him know about halfway through AIT. Well, I mean, he should know by now if he's in airborne school, because by the sounds of it, if he's in airborne school, that's after AIT. Yeah, you just said he graduated, so he should know where he's going by now. And if he doesn't, I'm kind of surprised, to be honest with you. But he should have already found out now, in my opinion, based on my experience. But more than likely, if he's going to airborne school, more than likely. Michigan Wolverine also says, sorry for the long question and checking in from California. Respectfully. That's what I'm talking about. All the way across the country. That's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah. So that means it's like about 4:11 in the afternoon over there, right? If I'm not mistaken. Jamal Wilson is, my recruiter is in New York, actually. I wonder if you know him. If he's in the National Guard, then I'll definitely know him, or at least know his name. We've had quite a few new hires, so there's quite a few new faces that I'm not too familiar with, but I will recognize the name, most likely. Kendra says, hashtag Team Swartz. Question, I have seen you and others say the ASVAB only lasts 2 years. I've been out of the service 16 years, non-glossary prior service, and my recruiter is saying I don't have to retake the test and can use my old scores. So you sound like you have a brand new recruiter, and that's all right. New recruiters, they're mistaken. All right, so your ASVAB scores in your medical exam at MEPS for a non-prior service individual or a glossary non-prior service has to retake the ASVAB test and the medical exam. Well, regardless, I don't know if that meant 16 months, 16 years. Well, let's just put it this way. You're going to have to redo it. Your recruiter will find out, and you will take it. The reason why glossary non-prior service is required to take it is because you never got MOS qualified. So glossary non-prior service means that you're a hybrid. You're still non-prior service, meaning that you don't have any real genuine experience, but you're not totally new because you've gone through the hiring process and you've been through a certain portion of your training, whether you got discharged prematurely in basic training or in your advanced individual training or somewhere in the middle of your one station unit training, right? So that means you started, but you failed to get MOS qualified. So to be considered prior service, you have to have at least accomplished the ability to become MOS qualified. And then if you were prematurely discharged in the middle of your contract, then that was just an early termination of your current contract. But at least you were MOS qualified, and then you would be considered prior service. But because you never got past being duty MOS qualified, you're glossary non-prior service. And if you look in AR 600-210 or the ALC, they will find that you will have to retake the ASVAB. So with that being said, good luck on the test and the medical exam, and hopefully it all works out for you in your favor. So good luck. Elias says, already subscribed, love your content. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I gotta figure out how to do this thing over here, because like I got all kinds of buttons for like clapping and air horns and some other cool sound effects, but apparently I found out that y'all can't hear it, so no point in hitting those buttons. So I gotta maybe reset it and choose a different setting, or figure out how to set it up properly. But if anyone knows how to use a Rodecaster Pro 2, please hit me up in the DMs on Instagram at Team Swartz. We got Sandra Silos with the question: if I join the Army Reserve or National Guard in one state and move to another state, do you transfer my info? So I'm going to assume you mean like after you're MOS qualified, because that's per regulation. And I explain it in this video in great detail. Guard to active. All right. So whether it's Guard or Reserve going to active duty or going from one branch of service to the next, that's the same exact process that you're going to follow. I just titled it because at the time I was actively recruiting on YouTube, but National Guard to regular Army or switching to another branch of service, same process. So actually, no, wrong video. My apologies. Woo. Brain fart, long day. IST, interstate transfer. My bad, your fault. So yes, if you're in the Army National Guard and you transfer to another state, it's called a interstate transfer. And yes, you will. So the losing state will help you and your unit prepare the packet to transfer you to the other state. And then the gaining state IST coordinator will find you a unit in the area that you know you're going to be moving to. And finding a unit that you're already MOS qualified that you could transition right into, or you would have to get reclassed into a new MOS. But nonetheless, they help facilitate that transfer from one state to the other, and providing that your unit and state and the gaining state are, you know, knocking out the paperwork in a timely fashion. It shouldn't take any more than 30 to 45 days, 60 days max. And on super duper rare occasions, if you're flagged for whatever reason and you're not such a likable soldier, it could take longer than 60 days. But they cannot prevent you from transferring from another state. All right. Hence the reason why you are a full-time citizen and a part-time soldier. In this example, in the Army National Guard or the Reserve. All right. But good luck to you. I'm going to come back to you, Melvin. I'm not going to forget about you, but I did get a super chat. Thank you so much. Cool. Aid Man Kill. Interesting name. But this person says, by what year are you able to use your VA loan with the National Guard? Good question. So with this, and I'm going to give so that everyone understands, and I appreciate you letting me know National Guard, because that's what I normally ask. So when you're in the National Guard or the Army Reserve, meaning part-time service, you have to do at least 6 years part-time. And that's including you never being deployed or being on federal active duty service for more than 90 days, other than your initial entry training. So your basic training and advanced individual training, or BCT and AIT, or your OSA, your one station unit training, all of your initial entry training to get MOS qualified, that training, that active duty time does not count. So it's 6 years part-time. And if you're going regular Army full-time, after 90 days, after you've become MOS qualified and begin your time in your unit, then you automatically get the VA loan benefit, or qualified for the benefit rather. But if you find in the Guard and Reserve a mission or some sort of qualifying federal active duty service that qualifies for it, Title 10, 100%. Specific Title 32 options and some ADOS orders, possibly. But talk with your recruiter and your unit leadership to see if you can find something that you could do for 90 consecutive days. It's got to be 90 consecutive days according to the va.gov website. All right, good luck to you, and hopefully that answers your question. And thank you so much for the super chat. It definitely goes a long way, and I do invest it back into the channel. Just don't tell my wife, because I spend more than I make in the Google AdSense on YouTube. Let's see, where was I? All right, so Melvin. Kool-Aid. If it's state active duty for state activations, yeah, that won't count. It's got to be qualifying federal active duty service. But yeah, it does suck. All right, so Melvin, Cologne. I'm taking the ASVAB on the 16th of August. Give me the Swartz blessing. May the MEPS gods forever be in your favor. May God bless you. Good luck and do great things. Also, have been hammering push-ups like you told me 2 streams ago. Out freaking standing. That's what I'm talking about. But again, focus more on the cardio. So focus more on your running than your strength training. But if push-ups is your weakness, then definitely double down on that as well. But yeah, good luck to you. Appreciate you. YF says Team Swartz habitual line crosser collab would be wild. Who is habitual line crosser? I would definitely be interested in doing a collaboration with some other people. I'm actually setting some stuff up right now. In fact, talking about collaborations, I did my intent moving from July forward to do a podcast with someone else or a group of people at least once a month. Time permitting, of course, because it's a lot to edit. But with that being said, tomorrow morning, make sure that you turn on your notifications if you subscribe to the channel. Like, turn on all notifications, because I have Specialist Caraballo, who recently came back from AIT here in the New York Army National Guard, who came to us from the Marine Corps, who needed a waiver for an RE4 specific waiver because of his type of discharge that he got when he was in initial entry training with the Marine Corps. So he also talks about the unique differences and pros and cons of the comparisons of the Marine Corps boot camp versus the Army basic training experience that he has, and some other pretty cool stuff. So definitely go look at that. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in possibly doing some collaborations with the right individuals. I won't just bring anyone on the show, but if I feel that they'll add value to you guys as my audience, I'm definitely all down for it. JV, where are you located in New York? I am located in New York City, and Manhattan. Manhattan is where my office is. I'm a little parched today, but Michigan Wolverine says, yes, he graduated from AIT and is currently airborne. He's doing Force Com. So I think he will be part of the 82nd. And yes, sir, it's currently after 4 p.m. here in Cali, and I just subscribed. That's what I'm talking about. It sounds like he's going to do some awesome stuff. And ForceCom, I wonder if that's where my friend is from. All right, I take off my slippers. It's a little warm in here right now. But yeah, that's in, I think you said North Carolina. I think that's where my friend is. So if he ever runs into a Lieutenant Pendasis, let me know. And welcome again to the channel. Jose Lopez says, best YouTube Army content maker out there. Man, I appreciate it. You guys are making me blush. If I was the best, I would have the most followers. I'm not the best. I just like helping people. I'm never going to say that I am the best, but I do put a lot of good, accurate, thoroughly researched information for sure. I do put more emphasis and effort in making sure that my content is up to date and accurate. One of my pet peeves when it comes to content creators, especially when it comes to Army stuff, is when people often say in their videos, I think it's this, or I think it's that, or I'm not really sure. Once in a while, it's not bad, but if you're saying that multiple times in your video, it's like, dude, call someone, look it up, anything. But anyway, I digress, but I appreciate the compliment and thank you so much. Kendra Frazier says 16 years and the station commander said, okay, 16 years and the station commander said that the same thing, that my scores were still in the system and I had my jacket that matched. Yeah, they may be on the red report is what he's talking about. The system red. And again, per regulation, it's 2 years expiration. You have to become MOS qualified before they're valid, considering that you're prior service. You're not considered prior service. You're glossary non-prior service. So you're leaning more towards non-prior service with a little bit of experience, but not enough to be MOS qualified. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I honestly think that the station commander and the recruiter are confused. I think they need to open up AR 601-210 and the AOC to confirm their misconception there. So we got JV. Where are you located in New York City? I'm interested in joining the Guard under the split entrance program. So depending on the reason for the split training option, it's possible. But if you direct message me on Instagram at Team Swartz, I posted a link here. We'll talk about that offline. I'm not allowed to recruit on here, so I'll hook you up with a recruiter. But with that being said, moving right along to Sandra Silos with the hashtag Team Swartz. Appreciate you. That means a lot to me. Kool-Aid said, yeah, we talked about that. Aaliyah Benton says, I have a minor case of scoliosis in my lower back, and would that disqualify me from basic training? So it would disqualify you from joining, providing that it's less than 10 degrees. 10 degrees is the general degree, or not the general degree, but it is the degree that is normally acceptable for a waiver. Anything beyond 10 degrees, 99 out of 100 times is denied. My thing is, let the powers that be decide. So if it was diagnosed, you got to document it. If it was never diagnosed, Hail Mary, let the doctors figure it out. That's why they're the doctors. That's why they practice medicine. But if it was documented, then obviously you're going to have to list it, and they'll measure it, look at it, and determine to what degree your scoliosis is. And again, if it's less than 10 degrees, then a medical waiver will be submitted and expected to be approved. Anything beyond 10% or 10 degrees, usually not looking good. Mink Main says, context, I'm a type 2 diabetic and it's controlled. Define controlled. All right. So in general, if you are currently diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 diabetes, or even pre-diabetes, is going to get you disqualified from joining. And if you're going to tell me that it's controlled through medication, you are a hard pass. Do not collect $200, right? They will say no. So you won't be able to collect the $200 like you do in the game of Monopoly. Okay. So that's unfortunate. And I don't know, I can't remember which one's worse, type 1 or type 2, but one of them with a good workout plan, drinking lots of water, and basically living a generally healthy and active lifestyle could help minimize that to nothing and get within the normal ranges. But I'll try to pay attention. No insulin, no Ozempic. I'm pretty safe. Like you were in the past diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, or are you like you had the medication, you just don't take it, or like define that more for me, like break that down for me. Wolfman says, what exactly happens if someone what exactly does happen if someone CO? I'm sorry, Wolfman, I'm not seeing it. Oh, here he goes. What exactly happens if someone comes clean about something they lied about on their recruiter or at MEPS during the moment of truth? Hashtag Team Source. Glad I finally get to attend the live stream. Well, I appreciate you being here, Wolfman. I do recognize your name, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Now, to address your question. So during the moment of truth, they are going to instill the fear of God and tell you that you're going to have to share or disclose XYZ. Like if you've never expressed it, whatever. In my experience, they will always submit a waiver, whatever it is. Like if it's a law violation, a medical condition, they will submit a waiver, and 9 out of 10 times it's always denied, and you're going to be chaptered out either for erroneous entry or fraudulent enlistment. In this case, because you purposefully withheld it and then disclosed it, fraudulent enlistment. And you're gonna have to wait upwards to 24 months. But they're gonna tell you, oh, don't worry about it. After 6 to 24 months, depending on however they discharge you, you can always reapply for a waiver, which is true. So you're gonna have to wait up until 24 months from the effective date of your discharge. And depending on the reason of that, like if you want to talk to me offline about it, which I suggest, hint, because I don't want you to violate yourself by sharing personal information on here. But with that being said, good luck to you, and we'll talk offline about that. We got Silver Fang here with the hey from New Jersey. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate you. Bat Boss Jose says, how many college credits do you need to enter as an E3? I heard 45, but I don't know. It's 48. All right. 24 or more college credits will get you to private E2. 48 or more college credits to a 2-year degree will earn you a E3 private first class. And if you've obtained and earned your 4-year degree, then you'll come in as a specialist E4. Good question. Type 2 diabetic from New York City. I am screwed, or can I apply for a waiver? My diabetes is controlled and doesn't cause any problems. So Mink Main, if you currently are testing positive or testing in the test results to be diabetic, unfortunately, that waiver is going to be denied. If you find a recruiter that's willing to do the extra paperwork and to process you, you could try, like if you're not on medication. But if you've been on medication at any point within the last 6 to 24 months, you're going to have to wait until you've been off of medication for at least, at minimum, 6 to 12 months with monthly testing to show consistency that you're within normal range, or in your terms, controlled, quote unquote, whatever that exactly means. Usually when someone says that it's controlled, it's being controlled by medication. Like, you have an abnormality. So how is it specifically being controlled is my question. You mean like, even though you're testing positive for diabetes, you're not expressing or showing any signs or symptoms of diabetes? Like, I'm not following what you mean by it being controlled. If you could break that down for me, I'd appreciate it. The Twinkie says, hashtag Team Swartz. You keep it real and genuine. That's what makes you the best. Appreciate you. Thank you. I try to be as real as I possibly can. Obviously, I'm still serving, so my voice does have a filter, and I do have to watch how I word certain things. But yeah, I'm as real as I possibly can, and I appreciate the feedback. Thank you. The Great White says, I do have a question though. Before going back into the reserves, I heard from the Air Force they weren't going to make me redo basic, whereas the Army did. Do you know why this might be? Because the standards of the Army's basic training is here and the Air Force is down here. No, but seriously, that's just how it's always been. And the only branch at one point that was exempt from our Army basic training ever was the Marine Corps. But currently right now, if you're coming from another branch of service, regardless of the branch of service, and you're not in the elite forces like the Force Recon and the Marines, the whatever in the Air Force, PJs or whatever they call it, and Navy SEALs, then you're gonna have to redo Army basic training. Now, we do have a program where instead of going through Army basic training for 10 weeks as a normal initial entry trainee, we do have a program when training dates become available in the future as part of the AIC, the Army Integrated Course. It's a quote unquote gentleman's course for 5 weeks, which is essentially your white phase, which is BRM, basic rifle marksmanship. You have to qualify with your rifle. And then your last and final phase of basic training. So it's culminating all the basic skills. And when I say gentleman's course, it's you're going to go drink the Kool-Aid, do basic training over again, but with dignity and respect, because you've been there, done that, your prior service. And as long as you do the training to standard respectfully, then you won't be messed with and treated like a brand new boot coming to basic training, if that makes sense. So that would be a better option to go through, in my opinion, if you have to go through it. And you can always request an exception to policy, which cannot be submitted until after you sign your contract. And you have to understand that if you sign your contract for, let's say, the Army, coming from the Air Force, you do have to sign with the presumption that you are going to go to basic training. And the exception to not do basic training over again is just that, requesting an exception. It can get denied or it can get approved. My understanding is if you're from the Army or the Marine Corps, they generally do approve it. But any other branch like the Air Force, the Navy, the Coast Guard, Space Force, you're going to have to do basic training again, either AIC or BCT. And I actually did a video about this before AIC came out. So here's my prior service basic training video. Go check that out if you'd like. It's also linked down below in the description area. Aaliyah says, how long do you have to stay in active duty to receive housing benefits for married soldiers? So if you're regular Army, you're going to get it right away if you're married, or your home of record where you're currently at. And then once you get out of AIT in your first unit of assignment, you will PCS is the term. Don't know what PCS stands for, but basically it's an acronym to move you, your family, and your goods from one location to the next. So upon getting to your unit of assignment, they will plan, coordinate, and break down to you the 3 different ways that you can transport your family and goods from your original home of record to your first duty station. And you can get up to 10 permissive TDY, which is basically free time off to make that happen. And the Army will pay for you to transport your family and your goods from one location to the next. And because you just got out of basic training in AIT, at the time that you're coordinating this, you can add however many days that you have already earned in your vacation time, called leave days, in which you earn 2.5 days of paid time off throughout your initial entry training. And you could tack those on to those 7 to 10 days that your unit approves for those free permissive TDY days off. So for example, let's say they give you 10 days off through your permissive TDY, and you've earned 10 days of normal leave through your time in your initial entry training. So now you could request those 10 days and get those 20 days off, where you're only being charged for the 10 that you've earned. The other 10 are freebies. So hopefully that makes sense and I didn't confuse you there. But yeah, so you'll receive housing allowance for that location. And then once you get to your duty station, they will either coordinate you to live on base if on base housing is available, which all E4 and below will preferably be on base because of the convenience. And then when you get to sergeant and above, or maybe later on throughout your time there, they may offer you to move the ability to move off post and live on the economy, again, using the housing allowance. And if you want to know how much you're going to make for housing allowance, you can check this calculator right here coming into the chat box. And while you're in training full time, as long as your training is less than 20 weeks, you'll get it at the zip code of where your family live. But double check that with your recruiter, because if it goes beyond 20 weeks, let's say you're going through OSA, one station unit training as infantry or whatever, and you're at one duty station for training for more than 20 weeks, let's say OSA is 22, then you'll get the housing allowance for the zip code of where you're conducting your training, which can be in most cases less than what your rate would be for the zip code of your home of record. So let's say you live in New York City, where housing allowance is around 3,000. Well, I know the single rate is at 3,600 and change. So it's a few $100s more if you're married. But let's just say even 4,000. And you're at Fort Sill, Oklahoma for OSUT, for example, for 22 weeks. And they only give you 1,800. You're going to have to make that work. But double check with your recruiter and how that works. But yeah, And if you want to know how much you get paid and all that kind of stuff, I got a video right here you can check out. Also a link down below. But good luck to you, and definitely keep me posted. All right, so we got Wolfman again saying, what exactly? Oh, yeah, we already talked about this. Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, we talked about this. All right, so the Great White. What's also weird is the Air National Guard said I didn't have to redo basic or the ASVAB, but active Air Force said I needed to redo both. Any ideas on this? Unfortunately, I'm with the Army, and I have no clue what the Air Force do or don't do. And it's not uncommon for certain rules to apply for part-time versus full-time. So the only thing I can say is talk to another Air Force recruiter who is not your recruiter to see what they say the standard is. Like, fact check them. You know what I'm saying? Mink Main says no insulin, no Ozempic. I'm pretty safe. Again, I still don't know what that means. So are you not on any medication? Water fasting. Yes, 100%. I totally agree. All right. So, okay. So I'm assuming that what you're saying is that you don't take any medication at all. So if you were to go get tested right now for diabetes, Mink, let me know in the comments. If you were to get tested today for diabetes, would you test positive for diabetes or would you test negative? James Walker says, just got to swear in today. Wanted to know if you've dealt with a dependency waiver like I have. I found out last month that I have a third child, so I had to get a waiver for it. I have no parental rights to the child, but I believe I have to get the source docs and have no idea how to go about that. All right, so congratulations, I hope. And that's awesome, I hope. And what you need to do, I know in our state at one point, so our recruit sustainment program, kind of like the unit administrator, normally deals with these types of things. But I remember at one point what I would highly recommend for you to do, because I'm not quite sure if you did or didn't, and I'm assuming that it's quite possible that you did when you used the phrase I found out I have a third child. But you might be required to get a court-ordered paternity test to prove that it's your child. And the dependency waiver is not hard. What I would recommend, the easiest would be, and make sure that you explain it this way to the other parent, is a family care plan. It gives the person who's assuming the responsibility and understanding that they're going to care for your child, is when you pitch it to them, don't pitch it like it's custody, because you're not. The purpose of a family care plan or a dependency waiver has nothing to do with custody. It's giving the person who's assuming the role and responsibility of the child legal rights to be able to speak on your behalf in the event that they need to handle stuff either in a hospital or a medical scenario, or legal stuff, like maybe the kid's getting in trouble in school or something. You trust them and you're giving them the legal powers to speak on your behalf, like advocate for you, right? So why not use the parent? But with that being said, the questions that I would ask as your recruiter is that child, like, having a child is one thing, but if you don't have any parental rights to the child and you're not required and not on your own accord participating in financially assisting that child, or that child is not financially dependent on you, then that child is not a dependent in the eyes of the Army. The child has to be financially dependent on you with or without access to the child. So you have to understand that in the court system, access to your kid, right? And child support are two separate things. So if the parent, in some cases, let's say the parent is not giving you access to the kid and then you decide not to pay child support because the parent isn't following the court order of giving you access to the kid, you're going to be reprimanded for not paying child support, despite the fact that the other parent is being I forgot the technical legal term for that, but yeah. So, so the key is the child has to be financially dependent on you. And it looks like you did respond down here. So let me check that out. Right. So I got a paternity. That's how I found out. Okay. And I got my waiver approved this morning. I just had read that I might have to get source docs before I ship. Now, yes, because they're considered a dependent, and for them to get benefits like healthcare, or in the future, if you want to ever transfer your post 9/11 GI Bill, right? Then they're going to need to be listed as a dependent in the DEERS office. So the same place that you get your CAC, your Common Access Card, meaning your Army ID card, there's a system in there called DEERS, and that is going to provide certain benefits to the child. And you have to have the birth certificate and the Social Security card. So reach out to that parent, make them aware, especially if you're paying child support. Be like, listen, I'm in the Army. I need to borrow the birth certificate and the Social Security card, because they're not going to take copies. They need to visually see the originals before they will accept them as my dependent for medical benefits, dental, and so on and so forth. And then I will give them back to you. And what I would suggest to you to make that other parent feel more comfortable is you're going to write a letter. Well, make a copy of your driver's license or your ID. And on the letter, or you're going to use that as your letter. So the ID is at the bottom. And on the letter, you're going to either handwrite or type up something along the lines that I, so-and-so, am requesting the original copy or the original documents of the birth certificate and the Social Security card for said child. Upon completing enrolling this child into the Army for their terms benefits portal, I will provide the documents back within, say, 30-45 days, because I know, at least in my area, it takes about 45 days just to get to the office to be able to add them to DEERS or to get a new CAC, surprisingly, unless you have the ability to just walk in and get it done. But have it in a writing that within 45-60 days or less that you will return the original documents, and then you sign that document in front of a notary public. You keep a copy and you give her a copy. I would even add that you give a signature block for her and then have her sign that in front of a notary public. So maybe meet with that person at like a bank or a real estate office or somebody like a Uber, UPS or FedEx that has a notary on staff, and you both sign that legal document stating that you're understanding, she's understanding that she's going to give you the original document so that said child can get benefits. And then within 60 days that you will return those documents. All right. And then that way both parties should, work on it. At the end of the day, it's for the child. Right. So whatever the circumstances were, it's not about you guys anymore. It's about the child. So it's whatever's in the best interest of the child. And I can't see why he or she would say no. Okay. Just my 2 cents. Andrew Delgado says, finally went to MEPS, apparently mild hearing loss. Doc said, not a big deal, just waiting for my security clearance. Appreciate everything you do. Always keep it real. Appreciate you. Thank you. Oh yeah, you did say Doc. All right, awesome. Melvin Cologne says, thanks for you, Swartz. Blessing. Have you seen recruits get waivers for mitral valve prolapse? I was born with it and have never had restrictions. Thanks in advance. I want to say at least 1 or 2, and I did get them in, but they did have to go to a cardiologist to get an EKG done and a stress test done. With those results and a letter from their primary care physician who's overseen them for medical for however many years he was with them. Basically verified from this date to this date, under my care, patient has had normal EKGs, no issues with his heart or anything that deals with the cardiology area of your body. And yes, you were diagnosed with that at whatever, and even if it was an issue from that date forward, you haven't had any issues in that. As long as you live an otherwise healthy and active lifestyle, you should not have any limitations or restrictions or high risk of ABC due to this thing in the past with the mitral valve prolapse thing. Okay. And check out my medical waiver guide right here. It's also linked down below. And good luck. All right. So Mink says it's entirely through diet and exercise, and by control, that means our blood sugars and A1Cs are within normal levels. In my case, it's done with a diet and exercise and no medicine. So in other words, please ignore all the other messages. They are all okay. Cool. So with that being said, what I would suggest is get like 6 months of those blood sugars and A1C testing done, so you have consistency of 6 months or more, and a letter from your primary care doctor and the specialist that deals with, preferably get these done by a diabetes specialist or facility, and obtain a letter from them verifying that, yes, by this date here, moving forward, patient has been signs and symptom free, have had normal levels, A1C levels and blood sugar levels, and will continue to presumably be fine, providing that you continue to live a healthy, active lifestyle, and that you shouldn't have any limitations or restrictions. And yeah, so you're gonna have to get something like that in writing from your doctor, preferably the specialist, and all that stuff. So I just posted the medical waiver guide. Watch that video. It will make more sense, and you should be fine. It'll be a hard waiver to get approved, but the more supporting medical records that you have to support the narrative that you're good, then you should be fine. Shroopy Nooper says, if someone enlisted active duty, at what point do they choose their MOS and duty station? Is it before or after MEPS? All right, so for active duty, I just did a video about contracts. I don't know if I did a... Yes, I did. So check out this video. But when you go active, they do have a 2-year option where you get to choose your duty station. If you're not choosing that and qualify for that, you're going to do a 3 or 4 year contract, probably a 4-year contract, and you don't find out your duty station until about halfway through AIT. Worst case scenario, the later part of AIT. As far as your MOS is concerned, if you pass a test like a normal person should and do, then you will pick an MOS at the time that you sign in your contract, and then you'll know what job you have, and then they'll schedule you for training. But if you're going into the 09 Mike program, the Flurry program, or the Cat 4, well, Cat 4 you get to choose your MOS, but it'll be limited to whatever they're offering you at that time. But hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, so that's how it works. Christian Hernandez says, sorry, hang on, let me ignore this call. Prior service, going in as an E2, but my time and grade service is over 4 years. Can I request to have my E4 given to me? I was a specialist promotable at 30th AG. It's whatever you were discharged as. So if you were discharged as an E2, then that's your only option. Okay? Good luck to you and welcome back. Austin Winter says, how long does someone that is single have to stay in the barracks? Until you get married, you will forever be in barracks. Unfortunately. Maybe staff sergeant, they might allow you to move off out of the barracks, but yeah, you're gonna be in barracks for quite a long time until you get married. We got hashtag Team Swartz, Kim G. Thank you so much. Appreciate you as always. Thank you for your support. We got there's something in my head. I'm planning on joining the Navy. I'm 25 years old. I have mild autism. I did a video just for you. Check it out. Hopefully it's high functioning autism, but yeah, check out that video. All the details are in there. So we got James Walker. So I got a paternity. That's how I found out. Got my waiver. Okay. Well, hopefully you can get those documents, and good luck to you. Drunken Ninja says, currently in AIT, your videos helped me so much when I was stressing about my decision to join. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much for the positive feedback, and I'm glad that everything worked out for you. And continue to do great things in AIT, and good luck in the next Army chapter of your career. Shoopy Nooper says, do you qualify to choose your duty station for the 2-year option you mentioned based on the MOS that you choose? Yes, so based on what you're qualified for at the time of enlistment, definitely ask for it and ask your active duty recruiter what the requirements are to get duty station of choice and MOS. So you got to understand, like, for example, let's say, I'm going to make this up because I really don't know, but let's say you really want to be a dental hygienist in the Army, whatever that may be in the 68 series. And, well, no, it's a bad example because those are common and every base has those because you got to get your teeth cleaned, right? Man, I'm having a brain fart here. Let's say, let's say you want to be field artillery and you want to go to Hawaii, and that's your duty station of choice and that's your MOS of choice. Cool beans. Unfortunately, that location doesn't have field artillery. I'm just making this up. I don't know if they do or don't. I know that infantry is there for sure, but let's say you wanted to be field artillery, you want to be combat arms, but you don't want to be necessarily in the front lines doing the grunt stuff. You'd rather be from afar, destroying them from smithereens, but that's the MOS and duty station you want. So now you have to choose duty station of Hawaii and choosing a different job, or choosing another location that has field artillery and have that duty station be a secondary option for you, whatever. But talk to your recruiter to find out if those two can marry up with each other. I do plan on bringing, I don't know if you know who she is, but Erica Burney and I may be doing a live stream, a private live stream next Thursday to be posted sometime next month. But stay tuned for that. And she is an active duty recruiter, but ask your active duty recruiter and see what happens. All right. But it is tied to MOSs and some other criteria when you're going active duty. There's something in my head. I plan on joining the Navy. So I'm not sure what the rules are for the Navy and autism, but oh, and then you're also going to want to check out this video too, because I think you were here for that. But this medical waiver guide too. Well, I also talk about it in that autism video as well. But yeah, it's going to be a hard waiver, but do what I tell you and you'll be fine. Austin Winter says, can we pick where we want to get stationed? I really want to go overseas. Yes, if you are otherwise eligible for it when going regular Army, they do have an option where you get to choose duty station of choice. Okay. But talk with your recruiter and find out what their requirements are. Andrew Delgado says, weird question, but can you join the Army with a prosthetic limb, even though it is an unfair advantage because your leg won't get tired? But the other one will be extra tired, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, unfortunately, unless you were prior service and it happened while you were prior service or in service previously, that would be the only time or exception to the MEPCOM policy that I could think of that would allow something like that. It would also depend on the MOS that you're trying to get back into service to do, but as a brand new person coming in with a prosthetic leg, never happening, unfortunately. Drunken Ninja says New York Army National Guard, by the way. That's what I'm talking about. Represent. We got Aaliyah Benton rather, legally married, but we are living separately and possibly getting a divorce. If we are still legally married and I have not pursued a divorce, by the time I go to a basic, would I still qualify for married benefits? I'll tell you what the regulation says, and you do with that information whatever. So by regulation and by law, you have to basically state the facts. It's either you're married or never married, or married but separate. And if you're married and it's listed that you're separate, then you will not get marriage benefits, meaning your own place to live or a housing allowance to live off post when you're on orders for more than 30 days, like your initial entry training. So hopefully that makes sense. But with that being said, that is very, very stressful. I went through one in 2015. Cost me $24,000. So good luck. One of these days I'll do a video about that experience. But I think it's only more stressful when you have kids involved. So hopefully there are no kids involved. But bless you. And hopefully you get through it well. Also says, what is the difference between post 9/11 GI Bill and what you were referring to as a GI Bill? What would be the best to choose? All right, so I'll show you. I'll paraphrase a video, okay? I did a National Guard education benefits video, but I didn't go into post 9/11 in that video, so I will break that down for you here. The reserve from any branch of the service, to include the National Guard, were only authorized the 1606 Select Reserve Montgomery GI Bill, right? Which is about around $454. It recently went up. It was like 300 and something, but now it's like 454, around there, plus or minus a couple of dollars. And you get that per month for each month that you're in college for a maximum of 36 payments, which is equivalent to you earning your 4-year degree. So 4 months of college or 8 months of college per year for your spring and fall semester. And that's how much you'll make through that part-time GI Bill. The post 9/11 GI Bill is for those who are on qualifying federal active duty orders for 90 consecutive days or longer, other than for their initial entry training. So your basic training, AIT, or your OSA will not count towards those 90 days. So once you get to your first unit of assignment, 90 days later, if you're in the regular Army full time, or if you ever deploy in the Guard or Reserve, then once you get 90 consecutive qualifying federal active duty days completed, you will now be eligible for 50% of the post 9/11 GI Bill. To get 100%, you need to complete 3 years of active federal qualifying service, which is why in my last video, when I talk about contracts, if you're going regular Army, I would not do the 2-year option, because to get your biggest bang for your buck, or the bigger, better deal, the BBD, go for the 4-year option, because you'll get the post 9/11 at 100%. And I included the VA links down below that will break down the different time hacks that if you complete, to what percentage of the post 9/11 that you'll earn. And and federal tuition, both Guard or Reserve, is $4,000 per year through the federal tuition assistance. And if you go National Guard, then the National Guard, in addition to that $4,000, has more state tuition assistance, and that is going to be state specific, as that video describes. So definitely go check that out and make an informed decision on what's best for you, for your reasons and your reasons alone. So good luck to you in your decision making process. Edwin Sanchez says, can you join with a domestic violence charge, even if it's a slim chance? All right, so Edwin Sanchez, when it comes to DV, it is highly scrutinized. Even if it's dismissed, it can still count against you, right? So when it comes to DV, we need to first establish the relationship. All right, is it of the opposite sex? Or I guess it could be the same sex with same-sex marriages, but your spouse or someone that you're physically intimate with at the time and living together. So the two major things are, were you physically intimate at the time and were you living under the same roof? The possible loopholes around DV is if you are no longer living together and you are no longer sexually active, and then they would look at it more as like an assault, which can assault or assault and battery or whatever, and those things then can be waived. But if you were living together, you were sexually involved, that will count against you unless it was determined in court through the disposition and the court minutes and the arrest report. You need to get those three documents. The court minutes, you might get like a small charge of like $20 deposit to be able to get those, because those aren't owned by the court. The curator who types them up actually owns them, so they have to get with the curator to get those records for you, and the courthouse will have the disposition. So if you go to the records department of the courthouse, they'll request the minutes, the court minutes, and they will furnish you a final disposition. And then you want to go to, depending on where you live and what the protocol is, you're going to need a copy of the arrest report. The arrest report says whatever the hell they want to put on there, to why they were arresting you, to the court minutes, which determines what's being said in the courtroom, whether you're physically there or not. So whatever is being said hopefully will dictate or determine whether or not you actually committed the crime. And the disposition is what the judge ultimately decided on. So even if it was dismissed, because what often happens is, and this is why it still counts against you if it's dismissed, is when it comes to relationships, in the heat of the moment, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you know, you're practicing Army combatives. Oftentimes what happens is you guys kiss and make up after the fact, and then you feel bad, or they feel bad, whoever complained, and they just simply fail to show up in court. And because of that, and it wasn't proven in court that you did not in fact commit said complaint, we're going to go with the negative narrative and say that you actually committed the crime, because it wasn't proven in court beyond a shadow of a doubt that you didn't do the crime. So those are very touchy and oftentimes denied unless it's determined that you did not live together, you were not actively in a relationship, and or sexually involved. If it is, then if you weren't, then you might have some options. So depends on your unique circumstances. Junkie Ninja also says, since we're on the topic, I'm a 25 uniform signal support specialist. My unit came back as, my unit back home is, my unit back home is a military police unit. Do you have any insights on what it's like to be attached to a military police unit? What is their op tempo like usually? Longer Joe weekends, more high-speed training, and obviously rotate more on deployments. Typically. Marco, also, any advice for someone that is going to talk to a recruiter soon? Yes. Do your thorough research. Watch this video. Don't join the U.S. Army until you watch this video. I know it's a few years old, but it's evergreen. It'll never go out of style. Kind of like my channel. You know what I'm saying? Not a biased response there or not, right? And then let me know to what component of the Army you're trying to go in. Maybe I can post some other videos that would help you in the decision-making process. But that will get you started in the right direction. And good luck, Marco. Troopy Nooper says, do all unmarried active duty soldiers have to live on base? No pets unless I get a husband first. Correct. That is correct. Gary Larson says, hello, Team SWARTZ. Getting ready for basic. What is the best decision when it comes to running shoes? Thanks. What I would highly recommend, if you got a couple of coins in your back pocket, is go to an actual running store, like a Jackrabbit or whatever they call it. I don't know where you live or what your financial situation looks like, but if you go to an actual genuine running store, they're going to have you typically run on a treadmill for a period of time, and they will observe how your foot lands, right? And depending on how your foot lands, your overall footprint, whether you're flat-footed, normal arch, or high arch, combining all those to include your biomechanics of your hips and your legs and how you run, they will determine what running shoe would be a good fit for you that would minimize training injuries and proper footwear for the way that your foot lands and how you run and some of the things that you may be lacking in your form or technique. That would be the best and optimum running shoe that you can get. That's my honest answer. But if you don't want to go that route, I love Hoka's. I have a pair right here. Hang on. Yeah, they're over there buried underneath my dining room table. And I don't want to get that right now, but Hoka's. Hoka. Love that brand. JG, I just see your message. It's blocked because you cursed, but I'm going to approve it because it's not disrespectful. Okay. But I'll get to you, JG. And Gary Larson, you're going to be able to bring those running shoes with you as I describe in this video here on what to pack for basic training. But most drill sergeants are not going to allow you to use them until like the later part of basic training, either in white phase or in the beginning of blue phase would be the earliest that you would be able to use those running shoes that you brought to the training site. But once you get to AIT, you can use any running shoe as long as they're actual running shoes. Gary Larson's coming in from Florida. JG suggests Asics. Asics is a good brand too. Gary Larson is awesome. What about boots, kind sir? Okay, so I have I require wide boots. I happen to love the Oakleys, and I don't have my combat boots right here. But if you direct message me on Instagram, I will send you a link to the ones that I prefer because they're light on the feet. They're a great garrison or like in the barracks type of a boot. Maybe not the best boot in the field because you feel all the rocks and sharpness of whatever it is that you're stepping on. But Garmont's is another great brand, even more expensive than the Oakleys, like closer to $200. But I found the toe box or the boot for Garmont to be very narrow and painful for my feet and a little bit stiffer. What I like about the Oakleys, it's kind of like, it's not the minimalist shoes, but it almost kind of feels it's more flexible than the Garmonts. The Garmonts are very, very stiff, and I like full range of motion. That's why I prefer the Oakleys over the Garmonts, but it really boils down to personal preference. So every time you go to get new boots, try them out. If you like them, great. And like I've been using Oakleys for the past 5 years straight. That's how much I love Oakleys. And I recently switched to Garmont because if you know who Gritty Soldier is here on YouTube, he highly recommended them and suggested them. But man, they were killing my feet, man. My dogs were barking by like even like an hour into them, just sitting, my feet were barking. That's how uncomfortable they were for me. So I wasted almost $200. I have a brand new pair of Garmonts and I can't even wear them. $200 gone, man, down the drain. Anywho, Manny Dingo says, are there green Hokas I sent you a long time ago? I didn't get green Hokas. Manny Dingo, yes. DM me again because I wanted to thank you and I couldn't find the DM, but you sent me a black pair and they wore out. I love them. They were very, very cushiony. Whatever that name is, Hokas. Yeah, the black ones. Those are the ones I got from you. And I love them. I wore them out. And I ended up buying a second pair. They're blue. Different brand. Different style of the Hokas. But yeah, you turned me on the Hokas and I'm sold from there. So I appreciate you. Stay away from Nike free runners. I hear that. Ultima were awesome boots. Exo Speed first generation. Listen, Ultima, all right, this what used to be my go-to boot every single time. And they were the Ultima Ripple Sole jungle boots. If you know what I'm talking about, for the OGs out there, you know what I'm talking about. Those were my favorite. Unfortunately, Ultimas, unless they came back, last time I checked, like 5 years ago or so, they went out of business. But I used to love the Ultima Jungle Boot ripple sole. What I loved about them is they made you look taller because of the ripple sole, the ripples at the bottom of the sole. Get it? Ripple sole. And the part that goes up your calf was abnormally higher than the average boot. Kind of like, not as high as like jump boots, but they were higher than the average regular combat boot. I don't know. It just made you look slimmer, taller, and aggressive. And I just love the Ultima ripple sole jungle boots. My favorite. But yeah. Yeah. So you know. JG's on it. Air Guard or Army Guard? Honestly, I'm actually doing a video about... Hang on, am I doing a video about this? Sort of. Yeah, so... short answer, either one. Either one would be great, honestly. And the go-to question I have for you is, and this will be the determining factor, let's just say hypothetically, for the most part, the Army Guard and the Air Guard all have the same benefits, the same jobs. Which one do you find yourself gravitating to more? And that will be your answer, because they're both going to be the same. Now, in my unique circumstance here in the region that I'm in, Air Guard has fewer locations to train out of versus the Army Guard. So like here in New York City, you got to go like 2 hours north, 2+ hours south, or if you're driving, more than an hour to 2 hours east to get to a unit for the Air Guard. Whereas here in New York City, for the Army Guard, we have 2 locations in Long Island, 1 in Staten Island, 1 in Brooklyn, 2 in Manhattan, 1 in the Bronx, 1 in Yonkers, and then further up north, and 2 in Queens. So convenience, Army, Air Guard, not so much. But again, it really boils down to which one resonates more to you for your reasons and your reasons alone. I'm just some guy online that shares his experience and knowledge to help you make a well-informed decision. They're both great. I don't want to influence you one way or another. I want you to do your due diligence and do your research and choose the best one for you. And I'm going to refer you, just like the other person, to this video, which will still apply to you, even though it's the Air Guard. But it says, the title is, "Don't join the U.S. Army until you watch this video." A little clickbaity, but it delivers, and it will give you the best advice possible when researching the different branches or whatever. And it goes through a decision-making process towards the later end of the video, so it'll be worth it. JG says that the old school Ultima boots would crack occasionally. Yeah, for sure, especially because they lasted so long, they eventually would crack. But yeah, they were amazing. I loved them. That mofo is awesome. Gritty Soldier is a beast. Love his garments. Love those garments. Yeah, I love Gritty Soldier, man. He's a beast for sure. I thought about doing like rucking videos because I took a couple months off because I injured my back again, but I want to do some rucking videos as well. But he is a beast. I'm not a beast. I'm just your average guy. I could barely do 3 hours for 12 miles on the beach, and that's obviously more challenging than a flatland. But yeah, he's a beast for sure. One of these days I want to bring him on the channel too. But Gary Larson says, "Awesome, thanks, bro. Great advice as always. Appreciate you and thank you." Travis says, "What jobs are you able to do being colorblind in the Army National Guard?" That is a really good question. It's not a lot. And if you score high enough, you'll have quite a few options, but it does limit you, unfortunately. And stay tuned for a video that I'm going to be recording probably this weekend to post sometime, depending if I have time to edit it, next month. I'm going away for 2 weeks out of the country on vacation. So I don't know how much I'm going to be able to edit those videos, but I talk about the best MOS or whatever. And there's a portion of the video where I show you how to look up the different MOSs, and in that spreadsheet should tell you if you need normal color vision or not. A Christian Awakening Church says, hey Swartz, is there a long process for warrant officers? If so, what are the requirements, such as how long do you have to be in the Army before applying, and what rank can you apply for it? Now this is going to be subjective, or not So all right, so when it comes to commissioned officers and warrant officers, commissioned officers has like a cookie cutter requirement, right? 4-year degree, GT line score of 110 or better, US citizen, and you're good to go for the most part, right? Now, when it comes to warrant officers, it depends on the MOS that you're in and how long you've been in the MOS. And when it comes to warrant, it's not cookie cutter. The things that are required, just like a regular officer, is GT line score of 110 or better and US citizen. You have to be able to qualify for a secret clearance. And for each MOS that you're in will have different requirements. Like it could be a whole 2-year degree, a whole 4-year degree. It could literally be like 1 or 2 or specific college classes or courses that you'll need and not have a degree. It could be you being required to have at least your basic leadership course done, or even advanced leadership course, or even SLC. It may require 1, 2, 3 years of experience in that MOS. And sometimes you could be a specialist promotable and go for it. It really depends on the MOS, and only the warrant officer recruiter will have those updated requirements to determine what your options are and will be. And generally speaking, you have to be an NCO, a non-commissioned officer, for a period of 1 to 3 years to be considered, sometimes longer, and certain level of leadership schools completed as well. Some of those things can be waived. The things that cannot be waived are US citizenship and GT line score 110 or better, and qualifying for a secret clearance. Hopefully that helps, and good luck to you. Freedom Eagle says, retention rate for 68 whiskey in the Guard. Couldn't tell you. I don't know what the retention rates are per MOS. And retention in general is going to be state specific. New York happens to be the top state in the country to date, and for the past 3 or 4 years we were the #1 state, and it primarily deals with us closing the back door and improving upon our retention aspect of the 3-tenant mission. Terrence Adams says, hi, 35 and want to join the Air Force. What is your advice? Go for it. As long as they're willing to accept your age, by all means. That's an excellent choice, and I hope that it works out for you. Good luck. JG says, a lot of junior ROTC got some black gurgle version I used back in 2008-09 for junior ROTC adventure team and 1 state champ. All right, cool. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the black gurgle version. I think you're talking about the old black and bluish type uniform in the Navy. Not really sure, but state champs, that's pretty cool. There's something in my head. Can you choose military contract on how many years you could go in the military? If I put 3 years on my contract, would that be okay? Check out this video for all the details, but it is definitely possible in the Guard. Hang on. Reserve only offer a 6-year option with a handful of MOSs that they can share with you that will possibly allow you to do a 3-year contract, but Reserve only do 6-year contracts. But Guard can allow you to mostly a 3-year contract. But if your AIT, your job that you chose, is one of the longer training pipeline MOSs, then you're going to be required to do a 6-year contract, because the Guard wants to get their money's worth for you being in school for 9+ months or whatever the requirement is to mandate a 6-year contract. But that video will break it down for you. I'm in New York. I was 11 Bravo. All right, cool. So you were probably in the 69th Infantry or the 2nd or 108th. Which one was it? JG says, I did one this past Sunday with a plate carrier and a ruck about 70 pounds and 8 miles killed me. Yes. Do not overdo it. You don't need to do anything more than 35 pounds unless there's a specific rhyme or reason for doing it, especially if you haven't done it in a while. I wouldn't start out doing anything more than 35 pounds, honestly. I would even keep it down to 20, 25 pounds, not including your water source. And then with your water source, that would be like another maybe 5 to 10 pounds. But yeah. Ryan Hunt says, how can I get an airborne infantry contract or just get airborne in my contract? I'm in the process of joining the Army. So it's going to be dependent on if you're eligible for it, if the slots are available at the time that you contract, and they can offer it to you. And it's more or less an active duty thing, unless you're going Army National Guard for like special forces or an airborne specific unit. But yeah. JG says, make sure you get your feet wet by being enlisted first. It's good advice. Not always for everybody, but for the most part, there are a lot of pros to going enlisted first for sure. I agree with that. Ty says, how do I go about signing up for the weight portion of the 09 mic? You got to talk to your recruiter. And I recently posted a video. Just look up 09 mic canceled because the Army National Guard and the Army Reserve used up all of the allocations for this fiscal year. You're going to have to wait until October 1st or later to be able to go into the 09 mic program. Currently, active duty is still offering the 09 mic program, but it's a 1-for-1 special, meaning that for every person that scores a 31 and above, they can put in somebody who scores a 21 and above or the body fat version. But if they want to put somebody in who scored a 16 to a 20, then they need to put somebody in the Army who scored over a 50 on the ASVAB. So that's the 1-to-1 ratio rule that they're using to continue the 09 mic program for them. Right. Gotcha. Understood. Christian Working Church says, what are the contract lengths for the military police? 3 years and you're good. I believe it's 3 years. I'd have to double check, see how long the training is, but I'm pretty confident that 3 years is an option. Swearing in tomorrow. Waivers got approved. Out. Freaking standing fee. Oh, gotcha. Savon Jones says, how do I go about enlisting? What are the main subjects I need to score high on the ASVAB? All right, so I have a couple of videos for you. This one breaks down what's important on the ASVAB test, what to focus on, and the strategy on taking the test to include free online resources and books to recommend that you could use to help you and aid you in studying. And then obviously you want to maximize your study habits, so you want to check out that video. And the four main sections that you're going to focus on, with the primary focus being on math and arithmetic. Word knowledge is, unless you memorize having a word in the dictionary, memorizing or learning or understanding like prefixes and suffixes, in my opinion, isn't going to do a whole lot of help for you. Not even worth the effort. And then paragraph comprehension is just strategy, which that first video I posted about understanding the ASVAB, that will break down that. But math and arithmetic is where you want to be studying, and these are the videos that you're going to want to study for math. But this is the video that you want to use to study for math. Follow those tips or the directions I just told you right there, and this video and this video for the arithmetic. So pause the quiz video, figure out the answer. If you get it wrong, what I love about this guy is he breaks things down Barney style, like a human being, and doesn't talk down to you, so to speak, like understandable. You're able to understand how he breaks it down in simple terms, basically. And that's what I love about his videos. And again, he's got linked videos in the description area to deep dive on the things that you get wrong, if that makes sense. All right. Herlinford says, hey Swartz, I just signed my contract for 15 Foxtrot with the New Jersey National Guard on Monday and just received an email with the RSP schedule, which the next date is in August 3rd and 4th, and I don't have my ID yet. So, Herlin, you do not need your Army CAC, Common Access Card, or ID yet. It's nice to have, but it's not required. But talk to your recruiter about setting up the appointment depending on how far out you're shipping out to training. Again, it's nice to have, but not required. So you don't need it. You're fine. Have fun. New Jersey, Seeger, I think, is where you do your drills. And one of these days I want to go out there and witness their drills and maybe even get some footage for a YouTube video. That would be dope. Ty says, any tips on how to handle the heights part of red phase? Heights aren't my favorite. Just don't look down. And just remember, it's not the fall that gets you. It's that sudden stop at the bottom that you got to worry about. So, don't look down. Sandra Silo says, and I forgot, and going back to the heights thing, just attention to detail, follow directions, do what you're told, and you'll be fine. And have fun. And don't look down. Sandra Silo says, and I forgot, what is the score to get into your 09 Mike program? I did a whole video breaking it down, but there were updates to it. But if you want to check out like what day-to-day looks like there, but 21 to 30 for the academic version, and or being no more than 2 to 8% over your maximum allowable body fat. And you could use both of those programs now currently. And active duty is the only one that offers 16 to 20. And yeah. Travis Pina says, what would be better to go into 68 whiskey or 31 Bravo? I would say 68 whiskey, but it also depends on what your needs, wants, desires, goals, what you want to do outside of the Army. I don't know if you're going in full-time or part-time. I don't know you, so pay attention to the video when I post it next month. I'm going to answer this exact question. This or that is the theme of the video. Ryan Hunt says, ADHD waiver, easy. I hadn't taken any since 3rd grade. Yeah, too easy. You're good. Follow these tips in this video. Herlin says, thanks, ship out dates in January. Okay, yeah, so you got plenty of time to get ready. And if you haven't checked out these videos yet, check out this video. It's a banger video helping you prepare for Army basic training. And I guarantee you there's going to be something in that video that you were not considering and be like, wow, I'm so glad I watched this video. I'm definitely going to be prepared for basic. And then obviously the what to pack to Army basic training video. You're welcome, and good luck in training. Savon James said, or Jones rather, says, I will need a waiver for asthma if I haven't used an inhaler since 3rd grade. It really depends on your MEPS and the CMO, but it would not be uncommon for them to recommend and require a medical waiver. So yeah, follow the tips in this video here for the medical waiver guide, and you'll be all set. Freedom Eagle, keep up the great content. I've watched a lot of your stuff throughout the years. How hard is MEPS now since Genesis? Woo! Honestly, Genesis sucks. But I think the real problem is not a Genesis problem. I think the real problem is a CMO and MEPCOM. Maybe not even MEPCOM. I think it's more of a MEPS staff issue is what we have. And there's a lot that I could share with you, but I love my job. I love my job. I love my job. Woosa. Let's just say I have a strong distaste for medical staff at MEPS. And yeah, man, they be jacking things up. And certain individuals within the staffing of MEPS make horrible decisions, horrible mistakes, repeated mistakes, easy mistakes that should not have been made due to ill training or lack of training and quality of staff hired. And yeah, just MEPS is a hot mess right now. And that's just putting it lightly. But I swear, when I retire, I will roast the mother flower out of MEPS. But I love my job. So yes, I have a filter. And I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. Alex, is it hard to go to OCS for the guard upon graduating college? And messed up and never did ROTC. Too late to go to starting junior year in 2 weeks. Gotcha. Check out this video here for the different OCS options within the guard. Because you have 3 options: federal OCS, state traditional part-time OCS, and state traditional accelerated OCS option, which is 3 weeks faster than the federal OCS at Fort Moore. But with that being said, it's always in your best interest to do it at time of enlistment. But in this case, obviously you can't do ROTC at this time. So what I would recommend is in the video. So be an exceptional soldier so that when the time comes, your commander will be willing to give you a recommendation letter. That's the hardest part. Other than that, the rest is easy. Tyler says, do traffic tickets mess anything up? I ship out in a month. Tyler, you cannot join or ship out to training if you got a new ticket post enlistment. So you're gonna have to take care of those tickets before you ship out and make sure that your recruiter annotates those within your record. Traffic tickets just have to be listed and they have to be closed. You can't go with any pending tickets or pending court dates or owing any money. You have to settle everything before shipping and be listed. So talk to your recruiter and make that happen. JG says, I'll say it to the civilians at MEPS aren't the best and have a grudge, seems like, so they take it out in the listies. Yes. And sometimes I feel like they were probably bullied when they grew up, and this is their way of making themselves feel important. That's just putting it lightly. Herlin also says, I've been watching your videos, which are giving me a lot of info. Perfect. That's my intent. Christian says, what's the process like after AIT or advanced individual training? If you have family, do you go home and then go to your duty station? It could possibly work out that way. It depends on the leadership at your training site and your unit of assignment work out with you. But in most cases, you'll go back to, or not go back to, but you'll go to your duty station, get in processed, and put in your permissive TDY as previously described earlier in the stream, and transport your family and your goods to your duty station. And you could also add some of your normal leave days that you've acquired up until that point. So for every 30 days that you do full time, you earn 2.5 days of vacation time, or what we refer to as leave days. All right. JG says, same with OCIE turn in. Yeah, for real. Facts. All right, so I'll give you a couple more seconds here, but looks like we're gonna call it an early night. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I hate turning in stuff. JV, it honestly is going to depend on your MEPS. I can't mention my MEPS by name because the last time I did that, the complaint went all the way down to the Pentagon and back, and I had to go to the MEPCOM command, or the MEPS commander at this specific MEPS, and personally in person apologize for the video I posted naming them by name. Yeah, that MEPS is a hot mess. But yeah, there was a MEPS that I mentioned in one of my videos, and I didn't say anything bad. I just said that they were the most unprofessional organization I've ever met. They don't care or respect applicants and recruiters alike. And verbatim, I said I'm not going to name them by name, but their initials are MEPS. And yeah, that made it all the way down to the Pentagon and back, and I got a slap on the wrist for it. Could have been worse, but as you can tell, my channel is phenomenal at helping people make better decisions at the Army, and overall a positive experience for people, despite that video of me mentioning the specific MEPS. And it was ironic because when I got done apologizing, the commander basically gave me like a 10-15 minute conversation in front of the rest of the MEPS staff at the time, to include my company commander. And at the end of the 10-15 minute conversation, she was raving about my channel. She was like, yeah, I checked out your channel. It's great. I wish I had something like that when I was joining 20 years ago, blah, blah, blah. I actually very thoroughly enjoy your channel. I love the other videos because, you know, when I first heard about this, I was like, WTF, but, you know, checking out the channel, I was like, you're doing great stuff. Keep it up. And her last sentence was, just keep our names out of your mouth. That's it. And I was like, roger that, ma'am. Thank you. Appreciate it. And that was it. It was basically a slap on the wrist. But yeah. Nabil says, just got a waiver approved and I will be signing my contract to enlist. Thank you for being here along for the journey. It's been an honor. Well, I appreciate you, and good luck in the next chapter of your process. Christian says, any tips for someone going in as a 25 Bravo? And this isn't MOS specific, but for more complex, academically challenging MOSs like 25 Bravo, when you get done with class and chow in the evenings, designate no more than 60 minutes on your phone Monday through Thursday, and spend like another 30 to 60 minutes reviewing the notes that you annotated during the day, and make sure that you conduct your personal hygiene and go to bed on time. And on Fridays, same thing. Maybe spend a little extra time on the phone with friends or family. And then over the weekend, make sure you're still reviewing your notes and studying for at least an hour to 2 hours both those days. Again, reviewing your notes. And again, going to bed when lights are out and going to sleep. Don't be scrolling on your phone, TikToking and all that stuff. Especially if you know you're academically challenging or challenged. So those are my words of advice. And then pay attention in class, participate, ask questions, and write good notes. And that'll definitely help you. Ty says, do I go to MEPS to do the ASVAB, or is that separate? So your recruiter may offer you to do the PICAT, but you will do the verification test and or the ASVAB at MEPS. Marshall Van Nykirk says, will it be possible for me to join the Army even when I'm like 5 kilograms overweight? I'm not sure what 5 kilograms equates to, but with that being said, as long as you're no more than 2% over your maximum allowable body fat, then you can join without any special programs. If you're over 2%, but no more than 8% over, if and when 09 Mike program is available, you can join through this program, and it will pay you up to 90 days to get within the standard and continue on with your training. But yes, it is possible that you could be overweight and be all right. JG says, it turned out to be when Michael Scott thought he was going to get in trouble with David Wallace. What turned out? What are you talking about? Those names, Wallace sounds familiar. I think he's a the drill sergeant when he was a recruiter at the time. He's a master sergeant now. Scott sounds familiar. I don't know his first name though, but Scott sounds familiar. One thing you were going to get in trouble, got praised instead. Yeah, I definitely got praised instead for sure. If you're talking about the video in question where I mentioned the specific MEPS with my choice of words, which again, it was just my opinion, and I didn't say anything that wasn't accurate or disrespectful, but it's all about perceptions. You know what it is my intent was to get the dialogue started, and it got the dialogue started. And let's just say mission accomplished. But yeah, you know what's funny is there was a specific sergeant major who will remain nameless, but this sergeant major who was around my company commander at the time was like laughing the whole thing off. Like he was laughing about it. He's like, why are you mad? He's just saying what we're all thinking. And yeah, it was when Emerald was here, which was very short-lived, and MHS took over from there. But yeah. Marshall says, I'm currently 108. Again, I don't know what kilograms that equates to. Maybe 190 pounds is what you mean by maximum, I think. But I have a window of 3 months to get in shape. What would you recommend? As long as you don't have any medical issues, check out this program that I talk about. It's my TEAM SWARTZ fat loss strategy to join by leveraging a ketogenic diet, intermittent fasting protocol, and caloric reduction, and drinking a gallon of water a day and only walking an hour to 2 hours a day, trying to get 10 to 20,000 steps per day. I lost 32 pounds in over the course of 4 months, but I lost 28 pounds, I think, in the first two and a half months. But yeah, that's what I recommend. Nabil says, I was signing the contract and swearing in. Hopefully by then, end of the... Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah. JG, rest is important. Absolutely, for sure. Christian says, any major disadvantages of joining in your late 20s rather than 18? No, I think it's all advantages, not disadvantages. Because in your late 20s, think about it. You've experienced life. You've worked at least one job. You're probably doing a lot more adulting in your life compared to someone who's 17, 18, 19, who's just going to high school or maybe a year or two of college. Like, trust me, you're going to be more mentally stable and have a better experience at basic because of the level of maturity and experience that you have going into basic training as an older person. And you're very welcome. And thank you for your time, because you're giving me your time to watch me, right? So it's a two-way street. So thank you. Goal is to go 18x. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, gotcha. This is from The Office show. Yeah. I never did watch The Office. I should get into it, but I never did. Talking about The Office. The Walking Dead. So I'm pretty sure at some point I'll watch the series for The Office, but it took me like seven seasons were already done with The Walking Dead before I finally watched The Walking Dead. And then like I binged the first 7 seasons, in no lie, no joke, in 2 weeks. I watched all 7 seasons in 2 weeks. And once I got that done, a week later, the 8th season came out. So yeah. That's probably what will happen when I watch The Office. Only 1KD says, how are you doing, Swartz? Shipping out on Tuesday for the 09 mic. If I get a better score, I'm going with 68 whiskey. If that's not available, I'm going with 11 Bravo. Infantry and information you provided helped me on my enlistment. That's what I'm talking about. Well, I appreciate you and thank you. Good luck to you in training and all that good stuff. And I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. I'm doing much better these days. Thank you. So Jugoso Carlos. Unfortunately, it looks like this is like something part of something else that you had probably posted, but for some reason I'm not seeing any other message other than just training. So please resubmit your question or whatever, and if it for some reason doesn't populate in here again, you can always direct message me on Instagram at Team SWARTZ, and I'll get to you by the end of the week. JG says, my goal is to get back in after 4 years being out, former reservist, wanting to do special forces or try one, but not sure if my RE code is better than a 4 and popped hot, but did 8 years after enlistment. Yeah, so if you have an RE4, you're gonna need a waiver if it's from another brand or not. Yeah, you're gonna need a waiver, but you're gonna have to upgrade it first. So definitely check out my podcast that's posting tomorrow with Specialist Caraballo, the Spanish guy. He upgraded his RE4 to an RE3 Golf, and he talks about that process to include the attorney that he used and the recommendation letters that he got from, I believe it was a congressman and some other political figures in our local area. But yeah, definitely go check that out. But good luck to you, and hopefully it works out for you. JG says, I waited 3 seasons before starting to Peak Blinders and last ship because that binge effect. Oh yeah, man, it was time consuming, but man, I was hooked. And when I was watching The Walking Dead, I swear to God, man, I mean, I'm not sure if you're a Walking Dead fan or whatever, but I remember like I was like knee deep in like season 2 or 3, and I'm just like walking around everywhere. It's like, oh man, that's a choke point, that's an access point. That I could retreat over there. I could do this. I can use this as a weapon. I could use that as a weapon. It was crazy. It was wild, man. Just like the thought process that you go through and the lessons learned that they experience in the whole thing. But yeah, it's like, oh man, that's a danger zone. That's a choke point. Like just things that you think of. But anyway, I digress. Christian Awakening Church says, can my old ASVAB scores and line scores be retrieved after 2 years, or would they need to be retaken? So if you got MOS qualified and you're considered prior service, and we can find them on the RED system or the RED report, REDD, your recruiter will know what it is. As long as they show up there, and again, you're considered prior service, not non-prior service or glossary non-prior service, they are good for 10 years. All right, glossary non-prior service and non-prior service, they all expire within 2 years, and you will have to retest, unfortunately. Christian says, shipping out to Fort Leonard in September. Any idea what the weather will be like? On my phone, I have this pretty cool. It's got this weather app, and you can plug in what city that you're going to be going to, and it will tell you what the weather is going to be like, the temperature, the highs, the lows, if there's any precipitation at the time, and you know what the forecast will look like for the next 7+ days, at least on iPhones. But yeah, in my experience, it's going to feel hot during the day, and it's going to be more than 10-degree difference between what the temperature was to when it drops. So even though it might not typically be considered cold, because it's more of a 10-degree difference, it's going to feel more cold than it really is. And yeah, so that's some of the things that you're going to go through. But in the winter months, Fort Leonard Wood. Well, good luck. Character development is all I gotta say. Alf Jones says, hey, how are you? I have a question. Does MHS Genesis check every MEPS applicant? And does it go back only 10 years? I talk about it in these 2 videos. If you want like every detail possible. But with that being said, Genesis goes back as far as your electronic medical records go, and it really boils down to the MEPS CMO. In general, for the most part, they're only supposed to consider or factor in for the last 3, maybe 5 years, but it's not uncommon for some MEPS CMOs, chief medical officers, to overstep their boundaries and whatever. But when I was speaking to a surgeon general for the regular Army, she was saying that there's a discrepancy with the CMOs across the country, and they're working diligently on trying to streamline proper training to get them all on the same page, because some MEPs are too easy to get through and some MEPs are too strict and overbearing and overstepping their roles and responsibilities. But once they dial that in, I think MEPS will get a lot better. But yeah. Yeah. That's the short answer. Marshall says, so I converted my kilograms to pounds. I'm currently 250 pounds, but I believe I need to be around 210 to 220. Yes. If you can get to 220, maybe even 225, depending on how tall you are, and if you are a male or a female. If you're a male, depending how thick, well, your neck doesn't matter anymore these days, but yeah, 225-ish is when I would start meeting, maybe even 230, depending on how tall you are. If you're 5'8", 220, 225 would probably be the earliest. If you're like 6 feet, 225, maybe 230 would be like the earliest. But with 09 Mike program, you might be able to get in sooner than that. So definitely get with a recruiter once you get down to like even at 250, again, depending how proportioned you are with your body fat. Like if you're like me, all your fat goes to your gut, you fail every time. But yeah, get with a recruiter, find out what your percentage is, and see what your options are. Start right now, and then go like once every other week just to, check up on your body fat and show the progress. But yeah, man, I'll be posting a video in the next couple months about my fat loss journey. I was like 200 pounds at the beginning of the year, and I'm 177, 178 right now. Doing it, quote unquote, the right way, not crash dieting or doing anything crazy. But yeah, I'll talk about my journey through that process. Ty says, I do have some collections debt. As long as it's in repayment, will I be okay to enlist? Yes, as long as you have a payment plan in place, you'll be fine to join. For sure. JG says, what time will the podcast be? So it will get released at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. But if you become a channel member, so if you're on a computer, I'm not sure if it's on mobile, but if you're on the computer and you see the join icon, for a cup of coffee for $5, it'll give you direct access tonight. Otherwise, it will be released for free tomorrow for everyone. And for those of you that are channel members, if you're still here watching the live stream right now, I have a little surprise for you that will be in the end card, outro card, for all future videos. So as long as you're a member of my private community here on YouTube, then your name will be on the end card as my channel supporter. So appreciate you guys. It's just one way for me to show you guys that I appreciate you guys supporting the channel and all that good stuff. I mean, it's only $5, but it all adds up over time, and I appreciate the support and thank you. That being said, Jugoso Carlos says, I want to join the Army National Guard. That's a great option, great choice. Hope it works out for you. Here's a couple of Army National Guard videos to check out and to help you and aid you in your journey to join. Yeah, those two will be fine. A Christian Awakening Church says, should I update my RA3 or is it worth it? No, RA3 should be fine depending on the narrative reason. So you're gonna need a copy of your discharge orders, your members 2 and or members 4 of your DD214 if you're active, and if you're reserve, your discharge orders, and if you're a guard, your NGB 22 and or your discharge orders. All right, but the discharge packet is gonna be the key, and depending on the reason why you were discharged, like failure to adapt or whatever, failure to train, unsatisfactory Joe participation, depends on their narrative. What was the reason why you got kicked out? And that's gonna also be, so that's gonna be part of your administrative waiver. If it was medical, then you'll need a medical and an administrative waiver. And then if it was law violations, then you'll need a moral, admin, and so on and so forth. JG says, yeah, it was cold in September in the early morning and early evening at Lost in the Woods. So imagine when winter actually hits. Facts. I have to take my ASVAB again since it's been out for 4 years, and took it back in 2007. And would I have to go to basic training again if I got 4 years out? JG, if you're genuinely a prior service person and you've been out for 4 years, like you got MOS qualified, then no, if you were from the Army, you won't be required to redo basic training. if you were in the Army and you've been out for more than 5 years, which is not you, according to what you're saying, everyone has to redo basic if you've been out for more than 5 years. But if you were out for less than 4 in the Army, you do not have to redo basic. But if you're from any other branch of service, regardless of how long you've been out of service, you will have to redo Army basic training. Alpha Jones says, I scored an 82 on the ASVAB, took the PICAT first, then did the verification test to make sure that I didn't cheat or wasn't a fluke. Excited, want to do something with learning language in hot zones. That's what I'm talking about. Good stuff. Nabil Arife, tips about basic training. My tips about basic training, they're sprinkled throughout the channel, but some notable video. Basically, knowing what to expect will take the edge off of the fear of the unknown. So check out this mini series, and I would suggest that in that mini series, definitely watch the reception video, the red phase video, and the overview video. Those 3 videos at minimum. And to prepare for basic training, definitely check out this video. Oops. And in the basic training mini series link that I just posted, for all those videos, that was recorded and explained during the time of COVID. So understand that the POI, the blocks of instruction that was discussed all throughout those videos, is still true and accurate today, just without the COVID restrictions that I discussed within those series. So just ignore anything COVID related. And the training itself is good. Now, combatives is mostly back for most locations, and pugils is definitely back across the board for everyone. Aside from that, everything else is back to business as usual. All right. And yeah, definitely. And watch that video. Best ways to prepare for basic training is coming in the chat box now, and also linked down below. Soon I will be a full member. That's what I'm talking about. Friendly rest position March. 5 years next May. Cool stuff. Eve Pendy says, what up, Team Swartz? Looking like Scott Ian with the anthrax. Huh? What's that mean? Never heard of that. What do you mean? Who the hell is Scott Ian? You mean this guy here? Let me add it to the screen. Is this guy you're talking about? This Scott Ian? The band member? Is that who you're talking about? I think that's who you're talking about. I would need a beard, man. I'll show you what I look like with a beard. But it's not that long because I was on paternity leave for a while, so my beard grew out for like almost 2 months. I will show you what I look like. So if you go to my Instagram, it looks like this. That's me rocking on the beach, sporting the beard. One of the reasons why I can't wait to retire, so I can grow my beard and be a civilized civilian. Where do you usually go for basic training if you live in New York? Any one of the 4 locations. It's either Fort Moore, Georgia, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Fort Leonard, Missouri, or Fort Jackson, South Carolina. No, we don't go to Paris Island in the Army. That's a Marine thing. That's for the, never mind. I'll keep it PG. Prior service heading for Delta Chemical, Biological, Radiological, Nuclear Specialist, aka Utility Player. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for your service. JG, combats were awesome. Technique matters with Joe Hunter. Yup. Xylon, thank you so much for the compliment of the lights. I love these lights. Eve, I am very, very much happily married, but appreciate the compliment. Thank you. All right, so I've been on here for a couple of hours. Hit me up on Instagram. All right, and if you got any other questions, trust me, that's the place to go. Instagram, Team Swartz. And looking like a Halo ship from Alf Jones. That's funny. Appreciate you guys joining in tonight. And for the ones who gave me the super chat, appreciate you. And thank you, Eve. And that's pretty much it, y'all. Stay blessed. Be good. Team Swartz. Going to be signing out right now. Good luck. See you next week, Tuesday.